Welcome, and thank you for joining me. I wanted to make this video even though I've done a short and I've written a blog on it. And I wanted to release it now because I really wanted to validate people's approach to what is happening around the world, and particularly with Hamas and Israel. I saw someone express that they felt guilt for being able to hug their children, as people in Palestine and Israel are not able to hug theirs. And I wanted to share that for spiritual people during these periods of time, the best thing to do is to maintain our practice of cultivating joy and expressing gratitude, to remain at a higher vibration. Now, for a lot of people, they believe that in order to empathize with other people, they have to take on their energy. They have to feel miserable and suffer along with the people who are miserable and suffering in order to empathize with them, to show their sympathy. And on the spiritual path, if you follow energetics, that is not the case. For empaths in particular, to take on other people's energy is very toxic. And so the one thing that we can control in our lives is our inner world and our reaction to the outer world. And a lot of the spiritual path is learning to be in a joyful state of gratitude despite what's happening in the outer world. Whether we're getting a divorce or whether the world is teetering on the edge of World War III. Maintaining that positive vibration, that positive frequency of gratitude, and being in a positive place is one of the most brave and empowered states of being that you can be in. Now, if you give into groupthink and fear, then you will be disempowered. And there is nothing that we can do when it's something that's happening on the world stage. There is nothing we can do oftentimes when our lives are falling apart, when you're getting divorced or a loved one dies. There is nothing that you can do. And that is part of shadow work. Shadow work is understanding and accepting that life is unfair on earth. That is just the nature of this reality. And that is the choice that we made as souls to experience that unfair nature of reality. Because the truth is that we know that when everything is temporary, when we experience these difficult times, we know that they're temporary, that good times will come back. And when good times are upon us, we know that those are temporary, and they're even sweeter. And so, that is part of the human condition. Just like right now. Is it perfect that my dogs are barking? No. But am I going to record this anyway? Yes. Am I going to share this anyway? Yes. Life is imperfect. The world is imperfect. The world is unfair. There are a variety of experiences that we have that are not nice, but they teach us a lesson, and you can view it as a test. That is part of the perspective of the spiritual path, is that when we face adversity, when we face difficulties, do we throw out our teachings? Do we throw out our lessons? I always think of Peter Woodbury at a conference that I went to. He explained how this woman showed up for their Search of God book group, and it's a study group, and she had a divorce and all this terrible stuff happened to her. And she said that was nice. All the stuff that they had learned in that study group was nice, but it didn't apply now that she had difficulties in her life. And instead of tossing out our spiritual beliefs, tossing out being on a positive vibration when there is negative experiences happening in the world, it's actually more empowering, and in my opinion, I respect people more if they double down on those positive traits, those positive experiences, that higher frequency. To say, I'm going to be in a state of gratitude and joy despite everybody else being in fear and groupthink, is the most empowering state that you can be in. It may be lonely because a lot of people are going to be caught up in the group think, thinking that they need to take sides in a war, thinking that somehow experiencing the grief of others makes them better people. But from a spiritual perspective, it is much more preferable. I had to think of the word to use. It's preferable to be a light in the darkness. Now, it's easy to be a light when the sun is shining, but it's drowned out. It's the majority then. And it's harder to be a light and a guide in the darkness. And that reminds me of the video that I shared on the last full moon that we had. The full moon in, I believe it was full moon in Aries. Or was it Libra? It was on the Aries-Libra axis. And in that video, for our last moon cycle, our cards were the Hermit and the Fairy Godmother, two guides who guide people in the darkness. And it's interesting in that video, and I shared it here on my channel, but I shared in the video, I said that had the energy of a militant uprising. At the time, I was thinking more of the people who are on strike, and I was thinking from that point of view. But I said militant uprising, which is a very strange term to use. And I also said war. Of course, we've been experiencing the Ukraine war with Russia. So the last thing I expected was a different war to happen, and especially for it to be, started like that. But that was the energy of that full moon. Now, we're in a moon cycle where I pulled Gawacha, which is the fairy of unsuspected surprises. And it causes dismay and chaos. That is the oracle card that I pulled for this moon cycle. So this moon cycle is all going to be very big surprises and a lot of chaos. And it's hard to maintain joy and gratitude when you're tuned into that chaos. That's why so many people are turning off mainstream media. That's why a lot of people are choosing not to pay attention to the war. And that is a perfectly acceptable approach to it as well. For those of us who like to be informed, it's okay to be informed, but not buy into the propaganda, to buy into the fear and the groupthink, to walk a different path. That is one of the reasons why the spiritual path is described as a narrow path. It is a narrow path because it's easy to fall off of it. It's easy to fall back into groupthink. It's easy to fall into fear, easy to fall into hatred. It's easy to not see the nuances, the individual perspectives and stories that are coming out and being made during this time around the world. It's easy to lose perspective of the individual when the group is under stress. But as a spiritual person, as people dedicated to the path of spirituality, it is important to maintain positivity, gratitude, and joy. Now, I fall off the path just like everybody else. I have bad days. I have days where I'm not grateful. Very rare nowadays, actually. It's very rare for me not to be grateful or joyful on a daily basis, because I've cultivated to such a degree that it's a habit. It's what I do naturally. So even though I see people giving into fear and groupthink right now, it doesn't affect me. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video, is to validate other people who don't have that firm foundation of individuality and unique approach to life, or ability to focus on the positive, people who haven't cultivated gratitude, who haven't cultivated joy to such a level that they're unaffected. I want to validate for those people who are uncertain, who think that they need to give into fear and groupthink. I want to validate for them that there's another path. a healthier path, a path that can contribute to the entire world being more positive, to level heads prevailing instead of giving into groupthink and fear and just snapping, which is what it seemed like was going to happen at first. And we don't know what's going to happen right now. It seems like leveler heads are prevailing, but as I make this video, things can rapidly change. And so that was my main goal, to say yes, keep on the path, keep positive, stay in gratitude, cultivate joy, keep an eye on your inner world, focus on your inner world and how you react to the outer world. Because the inner world is what really matters, because your outer experience and your experience with the outer world is created by your inner world. So if you have that inner peace, that inner gratitude, and that inner joy, and you are used to practicing it on a daily basis, that is what you will continue to experience even as the world goes through difficult times as it is now. And so I wanted to encourage people to stay on the path, stay with the teachings, because you will benefit from it, and you will be a light to the whole world by staying on the path. It is not a selfish thing to continue to experience joy and gratitude in a life well lived, even while others are experiencing unexpected, horrific circumstances. And that is pretty much all I wanted to say. I am wishing you all well, sending everyone love, definitely praying for the world during this difficult time, as I don't like to see anyone suffer, nor do I like to see groupthink and fear seize so many. But keep on the path, maintain the course, and bye for now.